Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Today we're delving back into Unearthed Arcana. We have 3 new subclasses for your Dungeons & Dragons game.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
Woo! Dave and Ted have pieces of paper in their hands.
You know what that means. It's Unearthed Arcana time. We got 3 subclasses this time.
We do. We got the Necro Druid, the Bruiser, and the Crazy Wizard did it.
The Crazy Wizard did it.
So we got a nice mix. They're back in the subclasses. Makes me kind of wonder what they're working on next. Now, I have a new appreciation for Unearthed Arcanas, having seen a bunch of different iterations, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, having actually spoken to Mike Morrows a couple times now, and I think going forward I'm going to be less curmudgeon-y because I have a little bit better understanding of their methodology, and with that insight, that allows me to have new perspective. So I guess let's jump into the Druid.
All right, so we get Circle of the Spores. Now, as Dave says, this is the Necro Druid. This is the one who appreciates the cycle of life, and part of that cycle is dying. And they tie in anything that's like an immortal undead is an anathema to these guys. They don't like them, but like regular skeletons and zombies, they're okay.
All right, I have mixed feelings about this one thematically.
Okay.
Thematically, I like it as a bad guy. As a player, you're still in that area of I'm so goth, and I can be a nice necromancer and animate and raise dead and that kind of stuff. And like, I'm just never going to be on board with that. And I feel like this is trying really so ever hard to do that. It's drawing a line between the different types of undead. And it's like, we're recycling this. And it's like life, death, and unlife is kind of all a thing. But I love it as a villainous option. As a player option, I think it's a little bit more of a stretch.
Well, I think there's something to be said about what's here. I like their more mushroom, angle of it. The fungal rot and what have you. So it's still pseudo plant based, which makes it apropos to the druid. I like mechanically that they can do something with their wild shape that didn't exist before, as opposed to, oh well, I'm Circle of the Land. Well, I can wild shape to turn into something as like a ribbon ability, as opposed to use in combat. Where here is you expend that use, you get something else out of it. I like that they went that way.
Now, I think I would have liked it a little bit better if they totally went full hog Myconid. Right, and they're like, we're basing off the Myconid. Basically, Myconids can kind of make spore zombies anyway. I think I would have liked that angle a little better. I mean, there's enough room in the circle to do that anyway.
I think you could take that theme, that when you do cast the Animate Dead, that's what you do. All that is a visual change. So there's nothing to say that you couldn't adopt that and be like, I'm going to make it my own.
Well, you just mentioned Animate Dead and Druid in the same sentence.
All right, so let's actually get into what you get. So, as is fairly common, in this particular circle, you get new spells added to your Druid list. 3rd level, you get Gentle Repose, Ray of Enfeeblement. You get Animate Dead and Gaseous Form at 5th. Blight and Confusion at 7th. Cloud Kill and Contagion at 9th.
So you're getting a handful of spells that weren't normally on the Druid list. It's like every time you get access to the new spells, you're gaining ones that weren't there before, and some of the other ones you're gaining access to really strong spells, just always having them known. So I think that's really useful. That's kind of cool. But in addition to that, you also get a new cantrip. You learn Chill Touch. So as far as what they're doing with the spells here, really digging it.
So, 2nd level, you get Halo of Spores. Starting at 2nd level, you can launch toxic spores at other creatures. To do so, you use your reaction on your turn to do 3 poison damage to one creature you can see within 10 feet of you. The damage increases to 6 at 6th, 9 at 10th, and 12 at 14th.
So, while this is interesting and it's something that gives the druid something to do with his reaction, probably wasn't using it before, it's not an amazing ability. Poison is the most resistant or immune damage in the game, and it's a very small number.
It's
So
a small number, so that means if you're doing 3 points of damage, there's a good chance that's becoming 1. But they build on this ability throughout the whole class. Also at second level, you get Symbiotic Entity. You gain the ability to channel magic into spores that you infuse. When you use your Wild Shape feature, you can awaken those spores rather than transforming. When you do so, you gain 3 temporary hit points per level you have in this class. The damage of your Halo Spores features doubles, and your melee weapon attacks deal an extra 1d6 poison damage to any target they hit. These benefits last for 10 minutes or until you use your Wild Shape again.
now here's where things can get kind of interesting and exciting. Because now, now your spore powers are stronger, they're better, you're getting temporary hit points, you're using your Wild Shape to do this thing, it lasts a while, and guess what else you could do if you really wanted to? Wild Shape. You could Wild Shape into an animal and use these abilities, including the second level one. So it's going to make you maybe make you tankier, maybe do some other things. When you get to the point where you can use a fly speed, you could dive bomb things instead of just actually attacking them.
Now some DMs are going to be like, oh, I'll totally allow that. If you get the rules lawyers in here, it does say when you make a melee weapon attack, it does extra d6 poison damage.
Ah, yes, but I believe you might find something different if you actually look under the monster entries and how they actually describe the attacks. So I think it would absolutely work.
I would see absolutely no reason allowing that in my game. You're using a class feature ability and you're double downing on something, so you're only going to be able to do it once
For short rest, and then you're done.
Yeah. So I would totally allow it, but that there's people out there that they like to hit the word specific stuff. 6th level Fungal Infestation. Your spores gain the ability to infest a humanoid corpse and animate it. If you slay a humanoid with your Halo of Spores damage, the creature rises as a zombie at the end of your turn. It has 1 hit point. In combat, its turn is immediately after yours. It obeys your mental commands, and the only action it can take is the attack action, making 1 melee attack. It remains animated for an hour, after which time it collapses and dies.
So if you can be strategic and kind of pick off your foes with this, it's going to be useful. Even if they don't really survive very long, they're still going to absorb an attack, and they have the ability to attack and do damage. For some reason, these guys just made me think of infested Terrans. I don't know why.
So to me, that totally sparks to the actual Myconid angle that you were talking about, because it's your spore that does it. It automatically animates. It's weak as all get out in hit point wise. So it's like, all right, I like this. It's got that regurgitating feel of minions.
Well, even though it only has 1 hit point, though, it's still a zombie. So that means there's always a chance that even if it does get hit, it doesn't die.
That is true, because it does say it's a zombie.
Yeah, so unless you crit it or use radiant damage, that's the only way to guarantee. Otherwise, they still get a die roll. And, especially if it's a monster that doesn't do a lot of damage, they make a con save, boom, he's still up to annoy you.
10th level Spreading Spores. You gain the ability to seed an area with deadly spores. As a bonus action, you hurl fungal spores up to 30 feet away where they swirl around a 10-foot cube for a minute. While the cube of spores persists, you can use your Halo of Spores you can't use your Halo of Spores feature, but any creature that starts its turn in the cube takes your Halo of Spores damage. The cube of spores vanishes early if you use this feature again.
I found this interesting in the sense it gives the druid another way to control the battlefield. It's a great control effect. It's going to be versatile. You can just use it whenever you want. Bonus action, boom. This druid actually has something that a lot of other druids don't, and that is they've the ability to use all of their actions fairly easy.
You got your reaction and your bonus actions built into your class feature so that you can be using your regular actions to attack or to be casting spells.
Yes.
So I think it's incredibly useful. This makes a 10-foot cube. If you are totally that sadistic druid, I'm going to go put it on the beehive or the squirrel's nest. And now, they all died because of my spore damage. Now I got an army.
I didn't even think about abusing it that way, but there you go.
So you just get a horde of creatures that become zombie monsters
For an hour.
It doesn't say, the zombies doesn't say how many you can have. You control them, they obey your mental commands. So for an hour you got a horde of creatures, and
You're terrible, Ted. You're absolutely terrible. Power Gaming Munchkin.
Am I not supposed to be doing that?
Well, I think you found a broken point. So if someone from Wizards watched this, or when people are giving back the feedback, they're like, oh, well, we found a way to break this one power. So I feel like if this gets another look, that might be one of the things that they might figure out and change.
Trap some goblins or kobolds in a room and throw the spores in there until they die, and now you've got a whole bunch of spore creatures.
Yeah, that is amazing, Ted. You're terrible.
14th level, Fungal Body. The fungal spores in your body alter you. You can't be blinded, deafened, frightened, or poisoned. And an attack is critical against you. It doesn't deal extra damage.
Super strong, amazing ability.
That's it's pretty awesome. You get it at 14th. So that means you could technically take 6 levels of other stuff if you wanted to stack on to this. Like if you wanted just that crazy ability, that's because that's potent.
Yeah, it's a good. All in all, my curmudgeoniness aside about necromancy and good and the goth character, I think it's a strong subclass. There's some places where we're just talking about it. We're seeing like it's probably going to get tweaked, but I think it's a good base. And if you want a rot decay druid, I like it, and I like the idea that instead of looking at it as animating corpses the way a necromancer does, is that you're actually like infesting them with these spores. And they're more like the Myconid way. That actually makes it a bit more palatable to me. I don't know if it makes it less, more decent, but it makes it more palatable as, you're not just creating zombies and stuff. Again, I think people would have a problem with this if you do this in the village, and you start like animating their loved ones. They're probably not going to like you.
Yeah, this is not a super good character, but I'm all for giving someone the benefit of the doubt, and depending upon how you RP it and what you do with it is gonna determine how NPCs and possibly the PCs react around you.
So with that, moving on, we have the Brute.
So this is a fighter archetype, starting at 3rd level, Brute Force. You're able to strike with your weapons with especially Brute Force. Whenever you hit with a weapon that you're proficient with and deal damage, the weapon's damage increased by amount based on your level in this class, as shown below. 3rd is an extra D4, 10th is a D6, 16th is a D8, 20th is a D10. So it's my issue with this is the wording. As a fighter, you're proficient with simple and martial weapons. So unless they're planning to do something and revisit the term exotic weapons,
that part doesn't mean anything.
That part doesn't mean anything. Unless you specifically are like, oh, well, if you aren't proficient in a punch or if you're using unorthodox weaponry, I would want to throw all of that out. You're a bruiser. You just do damage when you hit with something.
Right. Well, maybe that's exactly what they're saying, though. Like, if you want to use improvised weapons, this isn't going to help you unless you take Tavern Brawler.
I would want to give it to him regardless. I mean, I don't think there's a big enough distinction that it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, die 4 to die 10, not really game breaking.
Now that's per attack. 7th level, Brutish Durability. Your toughness allows you to shrug off assaults that would devastate others. When you make a saving throw, roll D6 and add the die to your saving throw total. If applying this bonus to a death saving throw increases the total to 20 or higher, you gain the benefits of rolling a 20 on the D20. My problem with this is that's a D6 to everything, saving throw wise.
Yeah, that's strong. That's really
potent.
Good. And being able to basically hop up on when you get a 20 plus is really good.
Well, as a fighter, you're going to be proficient with con saves. This is the kind of character that's going to have a high constitution.
I don't really mind it because so far this subclass does not have a lot going on for it.
10th level, you get an additional fighting style. 15th level, Devastating Critical. When you score a critical hit with a weapon attack, you gain a bonus to that weapon's damage roll equal to your level in this class. And lastly, 18th level is Survivor, which is exactly the same thing the champion gets. At the start of each of your turns in combat, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your con mod, minimum of 1. You don't gain this benefit if you have 0 hit points or if you have more than half your hit points left.
Thematically, I like the Brute. I don't like the fact that it takes half of its abilities from the champion, so making them very similar. I think the champion should be the more durable of the two, and this guy should just have different ways to hit hard, do more damage, and break stuff.
So the additional fighting style, I don't think that I like that fitting here. It doesn't like unless it's like, oh well, I didn't take duelist at first level, now I want it.
Well, and that's just it. Like a brute, like you think big heavy weapon, like maybe they should be getting an advantage there instead. But if you go with that, the only thing that leaves is defensive, so you can add to your armor class. Uh, yeah, it's just not as useful. I mean, you could probably pair duelist with defensive or protection. Either of them would work fine. Or actually, you could go two weapon fighting as well. Matter of fact, this would be a better two weapon fighter, which doesn't make me think of a brute at all. Things makes me think more finesse.
Right.
But the fact that by taking the two weapon style and what defensive, I guess, is what you would pair it with, but you're going to benefit for having more attacks
Because
because
you're the extra brute damage.
now, and I don't see the extra brute damage being a problem, even at the highest of levels.
Right.
Only because when I compare it to what can the wizard do? Meteor swarm, 20. Was that like 20 or 40 die 6? I don't remember. Look, an extra 8 die 10 doesn't bother me, and they actually have to hit every time to do it. I really like the devastating critical. I like that idea. I mean, it's going to be really good at the higher levels. So that's the thing that would have to probably keep an eye out for. But again, it only happens on a natural 20.
So 5% of the time you're going to get an extra 15 to 20 points of damage. I mean, it's nice to get that added on, and it fits in with the theme. I just don't think the fighting style and survivor really fit for it, But you can't just be like, oh, I do more damage, I do more damage, I do more damage. That tends to be like, all right, well,
It becomes a little bit too much. But at the same time, I like what they did with brutish durability. Yeah, you know what? You're like, oh man, they get an extra die 6. But what does the monk get at 20th level? +6 to everything, right? They have to still roll it. So that's why I'm like okay with that. The death saving throw thing is unique. I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, I mean, for me as a GM, like I'd be itching for that. Like I'd be like, all right, do you get back up? Like that makes me want to just.
It's exciting when they roll their death save. Did he get a 14 or better? So they can pop back up with 1 hit point.
So that you can hit him again.
Maybe the actions or the second win and get some hit points back. But no, so I like everything. I hope the brute gets another passover and they swap out survivor and the additional fighting style for something that works with this a little bit more. I like the idea of interesting ways to crush things and less so much of the survivability thing. I think like the one defensive thing is kind of cool.
And I want them to just snip out you must be proficient.
Just no matter what.
Yeah, it's not that worth it for me. So lastly, we move on to the Arcane Tradition, the School of Invention. Claims credit for inventing the other schools of wizardry. It's a bold claim. So second level, when you choose this school, you gain proficiency with two tools of your choice. I like seeing extra skill or tool proficiencies added into archetypes. This is where things go a little weird for me. You get Arcano-Mechanical Armor. And it's essentially, was it studded leather?
It's studded leather.
It's a magical suit of studded leather that you are proficient with. But it actually says you gain proficiency with light armor and you gain a suit of Arcano-Mechanical Armor. So your AC is 12 plus your dexterity modifier. The thing weighs 8 pounds. That's pretty harsh for this.
Yeah, but I see like it being not. I see it as being an apparatus that you wear, and there's alchemical tubes and all kinds of crazy, mad scientist things going on here.
So you create a suit at the end of a long rest by touching a non-magical suit of studded leather armor, which magically transforms it. Doing so removes the magic from your previous Arcano-Mechanical Armor, turning it into non-magical studded leather. So if you've got something and your armor got messed up, all you need is another suit of studded leather, and voila, you change it.
That's good. I mean, you don't lose your class feature essentially. But that being said, like this is not as good as a lot of things when it comes to armor class. The cool thing is you get resistance to force damage. That's a big deal. But you're also saying, you know what? As a character, I have one less attunement slot.
Yes,
That's kind of a big deal.
because it does require attunement. But you could just say, all right, well, I'm not going to, if I don't care about the attunement slot or if I don't care about the resistance to force damage, you could just put on a suit of studded leather and go about your day.
Yeah, any light armor really. Fine light armor, you can wear it and not worry about the force damage. You get a better magic item you want to attune to, like robes of the Archmagi would be way better than this, so this would have to go. But that being said, it's also one of your class features. So that sucks that you can have a class feature that becomes obsolete so easily.
But you get a lot of stuff at second level, so because you get the tools, you get the armor, but you also get reckless casting, which I found hysterical, and part of me really wants to go down this road. Starting at second level, you can attempt to cast a spell you don't have prepared. When you use this ability, you use your action and choose one of the following options. Option 1. Roll on the reckless casting table for cantrips and cast the resulting spell as part of this action. So it's a d10 with nine cantrips that are there spread out amongst the different classes. You could cast light, you could cast poison spray, you could cast thorn whip. Most of them are going to be damaging spells, so not too bad. Light, well, wah wah. But if you roll a 10, roll twice and cast each cantrip. But if you roll another 10 on either die, you cast nothing, wasting your action. So you have a chance of getting nothing for your turn, or a tiny chance of being able to cast 2 cantrips.
Yeah. So, question, Ted, did you start rolling d10s to see what would happen?
I have not. I have not. I actually read this while eating dinner.
I don't know what I was doing. I think I read it on my phone, and I was like, I want to roll dice now. I need to roll dice. So, what is that second option we mentioned?
So the second option is you can expend a spell slot and roll twice on the reckless casting table for its level, or the 5th level table if the slot is 6th or higher. Pick which of the 2 results you want to use and cast the resulting spell as part of the action. So there's a 1st through 5th level table for each, and you want to cast a spell of a certain spell slot. You pick the slot, you roll twice, you pick the option that you like. Now, just like with the reckless casting, you have that I rolled a 10 on each of them. Roll twice and cast each spell, but if you roll another 10 on either die, you cast nothing, wasting your action, but not the spell slot. So that's a nice happy thing.
Yeah, that's a big deal. But what you might get is way cool.
So then we move to 6th level. Now that was all of your things that you could do just at 2nd level when you choose this school. Totally crazy. You learn to channel magic through your arcano-mechanical armor to augment spells in a variety of ways. So it's already sounding like if you're not wearing your armor,
You're boned.
You're boned. When you cast a spell while wearing the armor and attune to it, you can expend 1 additional spell slot of 1st or 2nd level to alter the spell. The effect depends upon the spell slot you expend. So you say, I'm going to cast a 5th level spell. You expend a 5th level spell slot. I'm now going to expend a 1st level spell slot in addition to. Allows you to manipulate the spell's energy. When you cast a spell that deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, you can substitute that damage type for another one from that list. If you expend a 2nd level spell slot in addition to what you're casting, the slot increases the spell's raw force. If you roll damage for a spell when you cast it, increase the spell's damage by 2d10 force damage against one of the spell's target. This turn, your choice.
So does that look familiar?
That was something that came from the lore wizard, right?
It was, yeah. So they've dismantled the lore wizard, found the things that people liked, and found ways to put them together in ways that are going to be more palatable and work better for the game. I actually like that, and that's why I have to back off on my curmudgeoniness when it comes to judging Unearthed Arcanas because they are using the data, they're using the information, and I think they're using it pretty well.
All right, so this is called Alchemical Casting, and truth be told, I don't see like what is the necessity for wearing and having attuned the armor in order to be able to use this feature.
That's where all those alchemical tubes and crazy wizard science things come into play.
I just feel like it's not necessary. Being able to do an extra 2d10 force for a second level spell slot is nice. I'm not so thrilled about spending a first level spell slot to just tweak the damage type.
I don't know, man. Like if you built your character a certain way or you're in the right circumstances, you're gonna wish you had that ability, and you'd be glad to spend it. So you have two different options
So
there.
you could have a fire wave as opposed to a thunder wave.
You could, whatever you needed. Like if you're fighting something that's immune to fire, it'd be really nice to have cold. Or what if it has vulnerability?
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like it's going to be specific, and it's not like you're going to be using it all the time. It's not bad, but again, we are paying the attunement tax, so that's the part that part kind of sucks.
So at 10th level, Prodigious Inspiration. You have attained a greater mastery of spell preparation. As a bonus action, you can replace one spell you have prepared with another spell from your spell book. You can't use this ability again until you finish a short or long rest.
This is kind of cool. Like once per rest, you swap something out that you need. It's a bonus action. You could literally use it on the round. You need it. It's a decent ability, 10th level. It's strong. I like it.
14th level, Controlled Chaos. Your ability to improvise magic grows stronger. Whenever you roll on a reckless casting table for a spell other than a cantrip, you can roll on the table that is one level higher than the expended spell slot.
This one's nice.
That's like, whoa. So I'm gonna spend a first level spell slot, and I'm gonna roll twice on my second level spell, and pick which one I use. Possibly getting two second level spells for that first level spell slot. So you're gonna get in there and you're gonna be able to really get some extra oomph out of those first level spells. I mean, technically you can do it for any of them, but I think it's gonna really sell for your first and seconds. Being able to bump them up. Now again, you do have that chance that you go down that road and you get nothing for your action
or something you can't use. Well, that's the other thing where I feel like the Alchemical Casting comes in handy. It's like, oh, I got a fire spell, but I really need something that's not anything but fire right now. And you're like, well, first level, boom, it's thunder, or something along those lines. Or maybe the reason you're even rolling is because the spells you have prepared aren't going to work for the situation. And you're like, well, maybe I can get something different. Or, maybe you're hoping for some radiant damage or something you normally don't get access to. Now you at least have a chance. And at 14th level, you get it at a bargain. It's pretty. I like the ability. I think it's strong. Overall, I like these subclasses. I think they need some tweaks. I did hear a lot of, hey, the Brute is too much like the Champion. It is very similar to the Champion.
The Champion's big thing is the critical and the survivor, which the Brute gets. Brute has enough difference because it's just piling on the damage, whereas the Champion has some stuff that's useful outside of combat, whereas the Brute's all about the combat.
Yeah, well, and then also, there's a bit of power creep, too. Like, the Brute doesn't have any abilities that aren't good, where there's the athletic ability that the Champion gets. It's not that it's horrible or bad, but it's more of a ribbon ability,
right?
Where the Brute has no ribbon abilities. Like, its ribbon abilities are the ones that it kind of took from the Champion, and they're like, one of them is really super strong, and the other one's could be really good depending on how you use it.
So I think thematically they're all good. I think the Brute as a package is the weakest overall. I like what they did with the other two, and I think they're unique and interesting enough that they would be able to stand.
You know what I would like to see for the Brute, like some kind of charge mechanic, something like that where he's overbearing or something like that where it kind of like he's in your face, he's knocking you down. maybe focusing on heavy weapons as opposed to being more open ended the way it is.
Right. Because,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to use a rapier because there's nothing that stops me from doing so.
Right. I mean, like literally taking that one, taking it as is, going two weapon fighting, taking the dual weapon wielding feat, and then as an addition, taking the weapon style. Later, taking defensive. You're literally equivalent to carrying a shield now, with fighting with two weapons.
Yes.
And this guy's going to really benefit from that extra attack. So I don't know. They could do something a little bit better there.
So, like, you could say something with a heavy property, like you can use these things if you're fighting with a weapon that's heavy or, two-handed.
Oh, or would you rather see that on the extra damage thing where it's like really doubling down on that idea?
Yeah, like, if you're talking about a brute, a bruiser, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to come out there with a club or a staff and rawr.
Well, maybe a great club.
Well, I'm talking like club.
Yeah, like a brute. You think great club. You think maul. You think great sword. Really big heavy weapons. Or like I would definitely like I said, like an overbearing attack or some kind of charge attack. Maybe something similar to the charger feat.
Right.
Would work really good with this, or something that would pair with the charger feat. I think that might be a fun mechanic, or even like the orc ability, that aggressive that lets you run towards your enemies. Maybe not exactly that, but something similar.
Yeah, I think that would totally work. It would give them that
The bruiser feel.
Yeah.
So all in all, I like these subclasses. I think it's a good addition, and I hope they all get another Passover, pretty much, because I'd like to see where these go and if they make it into a product later on. But the question is, guys, what do you think? How do you feel about it? Do you like them? Too powerful? Not powerful enough? We got a place where you guys can discuss it, and that's the comments down below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out the articles over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.